Let's talk about the KSI versus Logan Paul fight event, pay-per-view, spectacular, whatever you want to call it. As most of you know, I watched it. If you follow me on Twitter, which you should by now. If you don't, I don't know what you're doing. You should follow me on Twitter. I was tweeting about the whole thing. I started watching around the time when Scarce went live, so I can't really talk about too much that happened before that. But I've seen everything from that point on. So just know there are a lot of L's, a lot of W's actually involved in this whole thing. Everybody didn't lose. Some people actually did come away looking pretty good. So what we're going to do is try to go ahead and decide who did what and who deserves what after I roll the intro.
What kind of guy do you think I am, huh?
You hold this L for that bum ass.
Stupid.
Rapper ain't even doing it like Lil Tank. Can we copy strike him right now?
Let's start with this, right? I started watching when Scarce went live, right? That was his fight versus, I think, a dude named Raka. Automatically, Scarce gets a W because he has lost, I think, 100 total. He's down to 170 pounds. He gets a W solely for the fact that he bettered his health and he got into shape. And he put in all of that work just for this event, which some people did not do, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But for right now, we're talking about Scarce, who did put in the work that he's supposed to do for this fight. And he looked good. I didn't know he was ever as big as he was. He put up a before and after picture. I didn't know he was that big, but I'm proud of him for getting smaller and actually getting his health in check. So that's a W for Scarce, but that's only for the health part, not necessarily the fighting part. And I'm not going to poke too much fun at him for losing his fight because I didn't expect him to win it. It was just the fact that he didn't really, I don't know if did he land a punch during the fight? It was 3 straight rounds of him not really getting more than, I'd say, like a very soft jab. I think because Scarce is who he is, a nice dude who isn't really built like that. He's not really going to throw haymakers. Like I said, I didn't expect him to knock anybody out. It was just during the fight for him to have that crazy reach advantage. The dude he fought was, I think, 5'6". Scarce is like 6 feet tall damn near. So that's a pretty big gap. But even still, he didn't land any solid punches on Rocco, who cleaned him up pretty nicely, bust his nose up bad. Throughout the whole fight, Scarce had just blood everywhere. Most of the fighters in the event ended up with their noses broken because obviously these are amateur fighters. Nobody's professionally trained to protect themselves at all times. They only train for, I think, 3 months? So I'm not trying to be too harsh on anybody's fighting abilities. But even with that, I had to say it's Scarce. And I'm going to have to assume that most of you can agree who watched the fight. Scarce kind of deserves an L for his fighting efforts, not so much his training efforts and getting in shape, but just the fighting. He didn't really look fluid or smooth or anything like that. And that's okay because he is an amateur fighter. I don't know how long Rocca's been practicing. I don't know how long he's been training for this day. Maybe he has experience. I don't know. I just know that he was far, far superior to whatever Scarce was putting out there in the ring during his fight. Now, speaking of entertainment and being entertained during this event, let's talk about easy L's, and that would be the entertainment between matches. At one point, some guy came out with a soccer ball, stood in the middle of a boxing ring and balanced it, and I don't know what, it was one ball, he wasn't juggling. He was just bouncing on like his neck, and he was rolling it around doing the pop lock thing. I don't know who booked it or who thought it was a good idea. I don't know if it's a UK thing where they get excited to see people juggling balls. I don't get excited to see people balance their balls. I'm sorry if that is your thing. I'm not into it personally, sorry. But that's a no for me. And then the other entertainment act, a UK grime artist named who knows what. Apparently he's number 6 on some chart somewhere, not my chart, not here. I promise you that. I didn't want to hear him awkwardly perform songs I didn't know. It was bad. It was like UK trap, I guess. It was kind of like American rap, but it was UK. I didn't like it. I know that's funny because my intro is actually a UK rap artist, Skepta, and it's similar, but that song's good. This song wasn't good at all. It was very boring. I was very mad. I feel bad for anybody who paid $10 to see that, or if you actually paid to go to the event, you don't deserve to have to sit through that bullshit. You paid to see fights. You paid to see acts. You paid to see blood and knockouts, not dudes balancing balls and poorly performed concerts with no dancers. At least get some dancers. If you're gonna do a concert, at least bring some dancers into the ring to get my eyes on it. Unfortunately, he didn't do that. So ball balancer guy and fake Skepta, you both easily get 2 L's. And now let's move on to the more interesting fights of the event, the ones that we all wanted to talk about, the reason we all tuned in. Let's start with Jake Paul versus Desi. It started out cool. I love Jake Paul's intro. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like the song, I know he's not a good artist, but the song Champion that he made fit with the intro so fucking dope. And then he had like the Bane thing going on. If nothing else, we can admit Jake Paul plays a pretty good villain. He's super easy to hate. And Scares came out, he was kind of nervous. You could see it in his eyes, you could see it in his face. Looked like a deer in headlights, but not Jake. Jake was taking in the booze. He had the chain on. He looked angry. Good job, because I didn't even pick you to win your fight, which I doubted and regretted as soon as I saw Desi walk out and do his intro. I thought Desi had been training his heart out. I thought Desi was going to come out looking ripped, ready to go, swinging at the air, throwing jet. Nope. Desi, what was the comment? Somebody tweeted me and said Desi looks like he's been training at the Cheesecake Factory. I have to agree. I'm not shaming anybody's bodies. I'm just, you've been training for 3 months or more, and I just didn't see it. I couldn't see which part. Maybe you was training your neck. Maybe it was all mental exercises, because it didn't look like you had been doing the cardio or the strength training that you were supposed to be doing. And like I said, the moment I saw Desi, I said I regret the hell out of this pick. I thought he'd be a little more ripped up. You didn't have to come out with a 10-pack or nothing like that. Just look like you're ready to fight. Look like you're ready to put it down in the ring. He didn't. And he didn't put it down in the ring. He gave his best shot. So between these two, Desi gets the L for not only losing the fight, but for looking like he wasn't prepared to fight and having a boring intro with a bad song. And as much as it hurts me to say it, Jake gets the W for looking like he was ready to fight, training, having a good intro, giving a good show and all the works. But it wouldn't be me if I didn't find something, just something, to give Jake Paul an L about it. I just couldn't possibly render this video knowing that I said only positive things about Jake Paul. So thankfully, during his post-fight interview, he reminded everybody exactly why we hate him so much. He plugged some new merch that nobody cares about. And then he had the audacity to call out Chris Brown for the next fight. Now, I'm going to keep it real with you, Chief. We all know, all right, Chris Brown hit Rihanna. He is a trash human being. We don't support the man on woman violence at all around here. We respect women. We don't do that. So we get that. But we can still admit Chris Brown would beat the brakes off of Jake Paul. Not because of any negative reasons you're thinking. I'm thinking because he's been training for Lord knows how long for like fun. This isn't like me just saying, oh, well, it's Chris Brown. He can do anything. No, he's really been training, fighting for a while now. And some of that training even included training with Floyd Mayweather. And Chris Brown's a drug head. I'm sorry to say it. He abuses drugs to the max. So I'm sure his endurance is top notch. You ever follow Chris? I'm pretty sure his whole body is just fucking numb at this point. So all those jabs and haymakers you throw, he's just going to bounce off of him. He's going to do a backflip or something and just start rushing at you with everything he's got with no problem. And as silly as it sounds, I would love to watch Chris Brown beat the brakes off of Jake Paul. I would just watch anybody beat the brakes off of Jake Paul, to be honest with you. I don't care if it's a little Tay. Just give me somebody who can beat the brakes off of Jake Paul. I'll watch it and you watch it too. Don't lie like you wouldn't. Also, Jake Paul called out the Ace family in a game of basketball. I don't really care about that shit. I just want to see him get his ass whooped even more with more bloody nose. So Desi gets all the L's and Jake gets a bunch of W's, but he gets one nice L solely because he can't keep his mouth shut even though it was bust open from the first round. Now we get to the beautiful main event, the ticket seller, the reason we really wanted to see his whole thing. KSI versus Logan Paul. Both of them had good entrances. Both of them did great entrances. They had good music. They both did their parts very well, unlike Desi. Logan started off beating the hell out of KSI. Wasn't even close for the first 2 rounds. I don't know what was up with that. And then out of nowhere, KSI miraculously started figuring things out and landing punches and haymakers. It got to the point where Logan Paul was stumbling around looking confused. He looked just like his pops in the street when that one fan snuck him. So it went from Logan Paul dominating to KSI dominating, and then they split the last 2 rounds, I think. And that's where it got really interesting, because it ended in a draw, and then they instantly said we're going to do a rematch, and that didn't rub a lot of people the right way. It just seems a little too convenient that the main event fight that you've been hyping forever ended in a draw, and then you're telling us there's a rematch we can give you more money for. No, we're not giving you more money for the rematch, because we feel like this fight was just a little too perfectly ended for you two. Something seems up. We don't know if you planned it. We don't know if it's rigged. I'm not saying it's planned. I'm not saying it's rigged. All I'm saying is it's a little bit fishy that you two ended this match exactly how you would imagine two people in the match that want more money. And that fishy ending is really the only thing that I didn't like about the whole thing. You could try and say that it wasn't rigged. You could say it's just a super coincidence. And I would believe you had this not been two very big YouTubers, and everybody knows us as YouTubers, we're really good at clickbait. And if you're a bigger YouTuber who does pranks, you're probably really good at faking things as well. So I'm not really going to believe you when you try and tell me that this is all 100% coincidence and none of this was on purpose. And for that reason, I just have to give an L to not only KSI, who I think actually won the fight, even though it went to judge's decision to say it was split as a draw because it's convenient. I think that KSI should actually won the fight based off what I saw. But even with that still being said, him and Logan both actually deserved an L for just drawing, just having a draw. What happened to he's gonna get knocked out in the third round? What happened to the third round knockout that you promised me, Logan? The low gangsters aren't going to be too happy with your lies. I can just imagine that group of 10-year-olds faces when they saw their hero's nose bust wide open in the fourth round and him stumbling around like the floor was lava. And if you don't get that, you're probably not young enough to be a little gangster, so don't even worry about it. Let's talk about the after fight interviews where they both claimed that they thought they won, which isn't surprising. They both felt like they won the fight. And I'll be honest with you, their interviews weren't that exciting. After Jake Paul called out Chris Brown, I thought that Logan was going to call out Thanos. I couldn't imagine any other way to top the nonsense that they were doing. But now it was pretty boring, just like the outcome of the match, so it's not a lot to talk about in that part. Let's just say as far as the whole thing was cool. I actually like the whole event, and I wish I knew more of the people who were involved with it, because I guess I don't keep up with enough big YouTubers to really know exactly who everybody was. So I guess that would have made it more exciting. But seriously, the whole event was entertaining up until the last little outcome, which I didn't like, but everything else was cool. That's a W for the event. Throw another one. There was some small L's here and there for certain specific people, you Desi, and anybody else who did anything nonsensical. But it was cool to see people who are just considered YouTubers pull off something that big and that major and get that much attention on an event that they hosted and not go to absolute hell like TanaCon or whoever else threw a con that week, Fuzi. I don't know how many views this fight actually pulled total on the mainstream, but it was pirated so much that I'm sure they lost at least 400,000 views solely from pirates. At one point, it was on Twitch as Farming Simulator, like the game. That's what they were streaming it under. It was on the Farming Simulator with over 200,000 people watching. The funny part about it is you're probably thinking, well, I know Twitch took it down. Didn't Twitch do something? Didn't people report the stream and make Twitch take down these free streams? Nope. In actuality, Twitch staff was in the stream watching it too and not doing anything about it, which I thought was fucked up, because aren't they supposed to abide by their own rules and TOS? Or do they only have to follow those rules when they feel like they have to follow those rules? We talked about Twitch's ability to follow rules before, so I'm not going to go too far into detail on it. I just thought it was funny that their staff was watching an illegal stream on their site, not doing anything about it. So that was a lot, and I tried to speed through it because it was so much. I didn't want this to be like a 20-30 minute video. So as far as the recap goes, everybody who gets an L, let me rethink. It was first and obviously Cheesecake Desi, and then you got Scarce for his fight, and then you got Jake for his interview, and then you have the entertainment, and then you have Twitch, and then you have Logan and KSI, and then I think that's everybody. I'm not going to repeat that list because I'm not going to remember it, but just know all those people can absolutely come together as a unit and hold this L. Because even though the event was pretty fun, none of us enjoyed the main outcome. Scarce lost a lot of pounds, and Jake Paul called out Chris Brown, which is actually just going to get his ass beat. Desi was supposed to train for 3 months, but he kept stopping to eat. Logan failed to knock out KSI, which probably made Chloe Bennett cry. I'm sure when he got home, her mood was kind of pissy. We're all disappointed in the main event because the ending was kind of fishy. If you like this video, be sure to leave a comment down below. And if you agree with these L's, be sure to leave a like. Let me know if you enjoyed the fights. If you're new, subscribe, join me and the famous few on our path to greatness. I am King Fame, and I don't have anything left to say. So for now, this has been your L of the day.
It was fake, motherfuckers! You mad? Huh? You mad, bro? You mad?